Hi, in this reflection, I'm gonna discuss one aspect of my research design that I found challenging, and also about how the study constraints shape my methodological decision and understanding of the research designs. At the beginning, I assumed that all research should be both internally and externally valid in order to become a strong study. So I decided to apply a true experimental design to my study because from what I read, especially the Mackey and Guest 2022, it seemed the true experimental design is the best. Because this design requires a random assignments which prevent the threat to the internal validity that may cause by participants' different characteristics, which may act as intervening variable that cannot be easily controlled. And if these intervening variables are not controlled, the interpretation of the result may be complicated, right? And also, I found that this design may improve the study external validity by allowing us to sample randomly, which support the study to represent the wider population. So which assists in interpreting the result may be more generalizable, right? But when I started to apply the constraint to the study design, I found that one condition is saying random assignment is not allowed, which meant the true experimental design cannot be used. So I had to change my initial methodological decision, which was to using the true experimental design to the quasi-experimental design. So in quasi-experimental design, it does not require a random assignment, but in this case, it would reduce the study internal validity as the random assignment is not possible, right? So I think even if I'm using this design, maybe I can still apply the random sampling process so that at least the study external validity still can be supported. But then I found another constraint that is saying that the instruction must occur in intact class. So which means that I must go with an existing class. And this also means that even if I can sample my individual participant randomly, I cannot put my sample into a new group, right? So these constraints force me to use the existing intact class without random assignment or sampling in quasi-experimental design. And here, the thing that I find interesting is that based on my research design, it is clear that the internal and external validity are very limited, right? But then I found that because I am using the intact class, the existing class, it is actually supporting the study ecological validity, which is more meaningful, especially in educational research design. So this made me realize that research design is not about choosing the best method in the theory to make it perfect or strong, but about making compromise depending on the context. So in my case, I had to accept that I cannot control everything to maintain realism, which changed my initial understanding of what makes a study strong. And also, like, this experience made me more aware of how practical constraints influence the choice of method selection, in real research contexts. And also helped me see that the constraints are not just limitation, but they shape the research design and also assist us researchers in making more realistic decisions. And another thing is, like, at the beginning, I don't really see the point of designing a study with multiple constraints because I thought research should minimize limitation as much as possible, right? But this experience made me realize that research actually never done, or maybe rarely done, in a perfect condition. So it is more important to choose methods that fix the context rather than that are theoretically perfect in the book, right? So thank you for listening to me.